Direi che possiamo iniziare. Buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti al nostro nuovo appuntamento online. Prima di tutto vi premetto che questa sessione verrà registrata in modo che possiate rivederla con calma e sarà mia premura appunto inviarvi il link della registrazione. Sono Ilana Rozenek, responsabile marketing di Tag Company. Assieme a me c'è Simone Frautus, cyber specialist di Tag. Oggi abbiamo come ospite Matan Reimann, VP Business Development di Centerity, che ci illustrerà i loro nuovi moduli Cyber AIOps che a garanzia della cyber igiene aziendale. Simone, ti do la parola per la tua introduzione.
Grazie Lana, grazie a tutti voi per la partecipazione e grazie ovviamente a Matan e Fir di essere qui con noi. Oggi abbiamo l'opportunità di vedere un prodotto che aveva già un grande interesse sul mercato prima dell'introduzione di questi nuovi moduli. Un prodotto che in questo momento ci permette di dare una grande visibilità su tutto quello che è il business dell'azienda, quindi uno strumento che in questo momento può servire sia sotto l'aspetto tecnico, e Matan ci farai vincere questo genere di aspetto, ma anche e soprattutto per chi non è tecnico e deve guardare ovviamente a tutto quello che è il business dell'azienda. Attualmente le attuali vicissitudini hanno portato moltissime aziende a digitalizzare e soprattutto a muovere gran parte del loro business sul mondo web. Quindi in questo momento per loro avere una precisa indicazione di come sta andando il loro processo di business è estremamente molto importante, devono tenerlo costantemente sotto monitor e ovviamente far fronte, a fronte di una diminuzione del business, di quali sono le problematiche o addirittura riuscire a prevedere quali sono le problematiche a seguito di un aumento del business. La cosa importante è che Centerity con questi ultimi moduli ha inserito delle grandi funzionalità con degli aspetti interessanti sulla parte di cybersecurity. Stiamo parlando di terminologie come cyber igiene, cyber posture, che fondamentalmente in questo momento sono sulla bocca di tante persone. Di che cosa stiamo parlando? Stiamo parlando di qualcosa che in questo momento mi permette di capire se la mia attuale stato di cybersecurity è sufficientemente buona oppure se devo fare e attuare delle attività di remediation al fine di diminuire quella che noi chiamiamo la superficie di attacco. In questo momento avere la minore superficie di attacco esposta verso internet, verso gli attaccanti, vuol dire creare una grossa difficoltà per chi ci attacca, spendere molti soldi per attaccarci e soprattutto molto tempo per attaccarci. Quindi il famoso concetto zero trust. Noi vogliamo fare in modo che chi ci attacca desista dal farlo. Oggi poter andare a raccontare un'azienda e dire sei 100% sicura perché adotti questo genere di tecnologie passa quel famoso concetto di falsa percezione di cybersecurity. Un altro conto invece è spiegare a un'azienda che attua delle guide linee nella cybersecurity atte a diminuire tutto quello che è la superficie d'attacco, inserendo ovviamente delle metodologie come cybersecurity igiene, visibilità e via dicendo, è il messaggio corretto. Ti renderò molto più difficilmente attaccabile e questo farà desistere i tuoi attaccanti dal farlo. Quindi io adesso lascerei direttamente la parola a Matan, che ci spiegherà ovviamente questi nuovi moduli. Come diceva Ilana, la parte di domande e risposte viene lasciata alla parte finale di questa sessione. Questa sessione in questo momento viene registrata. Alla fine della presentazione verrà fermata la registrazione in modo tale che voi possiate fare in tutta tranquillità le vostre domande. Matan, sorry for my Italian language. Thanks a lot to participate to our webinar and also your colleague Fir. So we already introduced you like the VP manager of Centerity, and then we'll let you the opportunity to share with us all the information, all the new kind of functionality regarding cybersecurity in your product. Thanks a lot, and it's your time. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Simone. I will try also maybe to open my video. I hope it works. Um, anyway, thank you everybody for joining. I think we have a very interesting session today, and I'm going to speak about some unique capabilities that Centerity and TAG can offer via the Cyber AIOps Centerity solution. I think it's also a very good timing because of the fact that only 3 weeks ago, Centerity got a top value leader in EMA radar report that was published. I think that Centerity concept of focusing on security and combining the business aspect with technology was a main reason for our nomination in here. As you can see, we won both for business impact and for availability and management and analytics. We will be more than happy to share more about this report, and later on you can go to Centerity website and read it fully. One important thing about Centerity before we start, you need to know that Centerity is part of Merlin Group. Merlin is a very famous US company in the States, focusing with many years of experience in the cybersecurity. And with Merlin together, we brought a Centerity Cyber AIOps solution. And we also won a reward for Emma about this integrated solution of security, which is, to be honest, unique in the market. I'm going to show for a starter what are the challenges that the CIO has today in regards to cybersecurity and in regards to the business. And we definitely going to see how Centerity, with your help, can really make it happen. So let's start. Let's speak about the challenge. Today, CISOs and security managers as a challenge which is combined from two topics. One, they need to control the entire cyber stack and tools in order to preserve organization. That's obviously makes sense. The other part is connected into the business. Being able to control your cyber part, it's a really hard task. We know that. But connecting security to the business is a real challenge because usually security and the business processes and services are splitted. We will speak in a second how we can help the CISO bond into the business, provide much more value to the organization and to the cyber itself. But let's start by understanding where are the points that need to be tackled. So let's start from the customer. Each customer eventually exists in order to provide all kinds of services. Those services usually build on top of infrastructure and applications and operational and processes, etc. When you plan and build those kind of services, usually security is not there. Security usually comes later on in the process in order to make it more protect, but that's sometimes a little bit, just a little bit too late. Why business services are important? Because if our business provides services, we sure need to make sure they're up and running. So the concept was always make sure everything works. Performance-wise, availability-wise, SLA, service level agreement-wise, but security was not there. Most of organizations look on security as another layer, but not as a fundamental layer of the core services. And that's a sort of a mistake. In the last year, Centerity, to be honest, in the last 13 years, Centerity built a magnificent platform to provide AIOps capabilities to C-levels, usually for CIOs. We used to take matrices and information and enrich them together in order to visualize both technology and business layers all together. That was a big hit. And by the way, we also won Gartner in 2014 for that. Security was there, but it was a little bit smaller. Now, today customers, we don't really care which kind of solution they're using in their IT or inside cyber. We need to give them the same capabilities. The challenge of the CIO is to bounce or let's say overlap the problem that we have today. And I want to show you how can we do that, and we dive into the solution itself. So most of organizations have teams or a NOC that usually is focused on the business and the processes, and is focused on technology. Security is not here. For security, we usually have a SOC or a team of security guys that usually run and take care of all kinds of vulnerabilities, notification, and issues that rise from the different security tools. That's a problem. And the problem is that CIO and CISO are protecting on the same assets. The issue is they are looking on the same services, but from a different point of view. The CIO try to understand that everything up and running, processes are committed, and eventually orders can be performed. The CISO is more focused about security, and the connection between the two is not always visible. To be honest, most of the time it's not. It's very hard for the CISO to see the business value and to help the organization promote his services. He always take care of the security domains alone without the business context. What Centerity Cyber AIOps platform do is helping the CISO on those two elements altogether. First of all, we need to preserve the cyber hygiene and the cyber scoring and tools. We will show it in a second. Most of the organization today have more than 20, 30, sometimes even 50 different cyber tools. It's very hard to control them, maintain them, and make sure they operate, especially based on best practices. Centerity know how to do that, and Centerity know how to take your existing tools and combine it into a business context. If I have a vulnerability, how will know which kind of processes and business core services are affected? Not just speaks about an issue in a firewall, in an antivirus, or in an endpoint, whatever. We can really see the full picture. And that's a huge advantage for customer in order to react better and, of course, to provide root cause analysis. We will speak about visibility, which usually is very limited on the CISO side of the IT, and now the CISO will be much more open into what's going on the services and help the organization visualize the security as well. And of course, we speak about C-level. They need to have a high-level report about scoring, about availability, about SLA. So today, we're not just speaking about healthy services provided by a bank, retail, or whatever. We speak about healthy and secure services. That's really the main thing we're doing here. Centerity Cyber Hygiene was basically invented by Merlin and Centerity, and today we are going to show you 4 models of Centerity Cyber AIOps that can help the organization and security departments to react better, both security-wise and business-wise. The first model we are going to speak about is a model of observability, the ability to control and see their existing tool and to make sure everything is running as it should. The second and the third models will speak about a new attack, a new type of attacks and vulnerabilities that can attract our organization, which are not covered today by existing tools, and that's amazing. And at the end, we will speak about our sister company Signet OEM that can also help customer promote from old antiviruses into EDR and XDR solution. So let's start at the beginning. Most of organizations have a lot of cyber tools. And as you can see in here, that's only an example. Those tools usually are on-prem, but can be resist on the cloud. And the problem of the CISO, the first problem is, how can I make sure those tools are configured and work according to the best practices of the vendor itself, and maybe even by all kinds of external standards such as NIST, etc. Centerity Cyber AIOps observability model is exactly for that. We know automatically how to score your existing tools, and we know automatically to put a finger and say, here you need to change the configuration, here something is not as it should, and we also provide our internal best practices about how security layers based on your tools need to look like. That's a very important thing. All organizations got firewall and EDRs maybe and all kind of, let's say, NAC system, but nobody really knows if they are configured right. One of the major problems we see that sometimes configuration changes because of IT personnel, because of outside of suppliers, etc. How can we maintain our cyber hygiene and make sure it's run based on the CISO policy and not based on all kind of, let's say, assessment we do from time to time? Cyber observability model is exactly for that, but not only. We also help CISO preserve and maintain his policy. Every CISO usually build a policy, a cybersecurity policy for his organization. The problem is there are too many domains, too many points of attraction, too many tools. Centerity helped the CISO by mapping those policies and build cyber posture views. We can show the CISO exactly which kind of policies are currently as they should, and in which places we have a coverage gap that was made by mistake or even by changes made inside or internally. We can really bring a CISO a dashboard that can show him every second how his cyber policies are enforced inside the organization. That's something that can change the CISO point of view dramatically, because today most of CISO don't have it. And we bring it also as part of this cyber observability model. But it's not only that. We also bring you coverage statuses for regulation if you need to be on PCI DSS, ISO, GDPR, etc. One of the most craziest work of a CISO is to map the needs and requirements and existing KPIs and see how it's matched. Centerity Cyber Observability Model know how to do that as well. We already have a preliminary definitions for most of the important regulations and standards in the market. And we also help the CISO maintain those gap analysis on a regular basis. So when a CISO needs to comply with something, he doesn't need to work with his pen and paper. We can bring him a total solution that can help him maintain and monitor his coverage on a regular basis. The last part, which is obviously also an important one, is to be able to gap the changes. We need to find when something is moving or change. We need to find when suddenly a behavior is not as it should, when a matrix is changed or moved, or a notification around configuration or compliance is not as it should. Centerity today, via the Cyber AIOps observability model, can help the CISO know about it instantly. We can tell you which tool was changed, what was the change, and what need to be handled. And that's something most of organization doesn't have. SOC teams have a lot of data, but their data is basically rely on notification, alerts, and logs. We are speaking here about changes that can open breaches into your organization from all kinds of angles and get a notification and remediation instantly. That's the idea of Centerity Cyber AIOps observability model. Eventually, we help the CISO blend all those different cyber methods into one dashboard, one platform, one tool he can work with, build his policies, control his policies, and of course, eventually maintain it on a regular basis all the time. And of course, we need to mention the business enrichment. Once you do that, we can combine those dashboards and KPIs into the CIO and organizational mapping of the business services. And that's something today which is not existing in most of the organization. Cyber dashboard aside, business dashboard aside, we are blending them together. So the CISO value and the organization value coming from cybersecurity is much more stronger than ever. With your permission, I want to go to the second layer of protection, second layer of protection. And I'm speaking about a new threat. Well, usually security guys are used to protect from known threats, from known methods. In the last year, two new threats came into the market and hit very hard on organization. One threat I'm going to speak right now about is the rogue device threat, the physical layer threat. Yes, I know organizations are using all kind of NUC system to make sure who can connect all kind of devices into the organizational network. But what if I tell you there are a lot of small devices which look legit, like a mouse, a keyboard, a USB drive, that the operating system and NUC system cannot recognize as malicious devices. You will be surprised how many attacks in Europe happen only in the last 2 months from those kind of devices that are just getting into our organization without any protection. Nobody knows they're there. Our existing cyber tools doesn't know it's a rogue device. And from that moment, I can gain access into your company. The numbers are amazing. And because of COVID-19, we see more and more of those attacks are happening, especially for people who work from home, when the defenses are different from our inside organization. We use our own computer, our own router, and usually we connect, let's say via VPN. And if we have a rogue device connected to our laptop, it's very easy to use the VPN and eventually penetrate into the network of the organization itself. So yes, today there are not many solutions that know how to attract those devices because they're really identified differently. Centerity brought a new technology, a new fingerprinting technology. We read electricity data from the network devices and from the endpoint. And we know how to identify those rogue devices without need to identify them as part of the operating system. Yes, Windows, Linux, Mac can see a regular mouse or a USB hard drive, but we know if it's legit or not. And Centerity today know how to protect two types of assets. Asset number one, of course, it's the endpoints, which is the servers, the workstation, etc. We have even an agent that can control that. That's wonderful. But we can also protect your network layers. We can see if somebody is connected in a way which is not legit. And again, your firewall and NUC systems and EDRs doesn't know about the existing of those devices and connectivity to your network. Once they identify a network behavior were happening, that's a little bit too late. So as you can read, and I guess you will do that, you can see a lot of ATMs attacks and workstation attacks, and even attacks coming from domain you didn't thought about, from printers. Think about how many organizations use printers? Well, a lot. Did you know your printer can be a point of interact inside your network without altering anything? All I need to do is connect to your printer, and from that moment, I can penetrate the organization, even if the printer is protected. And that's a sort of a new type of attacks and penetration that, again, existing tools don't know how to react to. If you like, you can scout over the internet for those new attacks, and you will see that printers are not alone. IoT devices and all kind of smart devices are a sort of a door, a port into our organization, and we need something to protect it. Centerity Cyber AIOps rogue device mitigation solution use hardware device control that can really find those devices. And you never know how many devices you can find. I can just tell you, we're doing all kind of proof of concept with customers and partners, and you will be shocked of how many devices we'll find during a period of 1 month of just doing POCs. There are a lot. And by the way, they are very cost effective, $15, $20 or euros, and you can have a device on your own and connect to organization. So that's a new type of attacks, but that's not the only one. Let's pick another type of attack, which is becoming very, very common those days. And that's attack from the internet. Well, most of organizations are controlling which kind of assets are connected to the internet. That makes sense. The only problem is that sometimes our assets are exposed and we don't know about it. It can happen because of configuration change. It can happen because, for example, like I mentioned before, a remote worker working with VPN, and because his laptop or desktop is exposed, our assets internally are exposed. And sometimes it's supply chain cybersecurity. Our partners, our integrators, sometimes they can be the door into our organization. Well, most organizations today use all kind of scanners in order to scan their domain and IP. And that's okay. That's cool because you need that. But Centerity provide another type of engine that works seamlessly over the internet, scouting for lost assets. We are scanning the internet on a regular basis, trying to find all kind of devices from whatever operating system or type, and find the connection between the device into organization. I can tell you that in the last report we published a month ago, we are currently have a database of more than 6 million devices exposed on the internet, from banks, from insurance company, from seaports, even from military organization, which are not aware their current environment is exposed. No, we are not doing penetration testing and we are not doing anything directed. We are just scanning the internet and find those devices. Once we find them, we can identify the device, we can find its organizational context and even the business context once it's connected to the organization. And then we can bring the organization the ability to see exactly which kind of vulnerability was here, which kind of CVE, what need to be done. But the most important part, we tell the organization something is open. Something is in here you're not aware of, which can be attracted from remote. And it's not by chance. Most of hackers today sit at home on their couch and penetrate your organization from remote. And while your assets are exposed to the internet, that's a very easy thing to do. All you need to do is find an asset, find if it has any CVE or other vulnerabilities, and from that moment, you can penetrate in. So Centerity model for attack surface, external attack surface management can help organization do that. The last thing I'm going to speak about our models, is our ability to provide XDR and EDR solution. As many customers still use antiviruses, we also want to help them there. But there's a fundamental thing. Centerity XDR and EDR solution come automatically with a 24/7 SOC, free of charge. And that means that if you are using our model, that means you also get a proactive protection from remote 24/7, so your team can handle the important stuff of cybersecurity, and our team can make sure your organization is not vulnerable and working as it should. So I'm not going to discuss this model right now, but we definitely also have an ability to help there. So if we are trying to see what we saw today, we can say two things. First of all, the CISO work is hard, and it's very hard to control so many domains and so many tools. Centerity help here by, first of all, take all the information and provide a sort of a dashboard that can tell you the score and availability and configuration for those tools. We can help the CISO eventually preserve his policies and make sure he is not missing any important point when he covers cybersecurity. But we also help the CISO combine security with the core business services. It's the first time the CISO will have the ability to increase his awareness and decrease the problems coming from Centerity into a one domain. Think about a CISO that currently have awareness inside the organization, can really protect the organization asset and not just control the checkpoints or the tools that are really there for cyber stuff. We are really bringing the CISO the ability to help the organization preserve its stability and eventually its security across the board. So in this way, the CISO and the CIO together have all the tools and matrices they can really bring in order to make a better world for the company and a much secured one. I will be more than happy in a later webinar to speak more about and to show more Centerity Cyber AIOps solution, which is, to be honest, amazing. I know you love it. I recommend you can go to Centerity website or TAG website, and you can download 2 documents that speaks about cyber hygiene and of course about our EMA report with Centerity new features and ability. Feel free to do that. I think you will be surprised from the value we can bring to the organization and CISO in order to make a better world and protect us also from new stuff that's coming into our doorstep. So that's my part for today. Simone, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Matan, to your presentation. As always, it's a very impressive presentation. We also know that actually at this moment there are a lot of people that is looking for this kind of solution regarding cyber hygiene, visibility, and surface attack. So from my point of view, is a good time to switch it off the recording of this video and go ahead with the QR. So wait a second, I'm stopping the recording session.
Anticipato e appena disponibili vi invieremo tutti i materiali via email. Grazie ancora.
So thanks a lot, Matan, Eyal, and others from Centerity to join us to this meeting and switch in Italian language. Grazie ancora a tutti voi per aver partecipato al nostro webinar e saremo in grado di supportarvi in sessioni one-to-one se necessitate di ulteriori informazioni. Grazie ancora.